Hey everybody, welcome back to the Cali Current Podcast. This is your host Ish.
And Grimace.
Today we're going to talk about something that basically everybody can sort of relate to because of the fact that we might have nosy neighbors in our neighborhood and or we've always possibly had one in the past wherever you may live. I mean, we don't always live in the same neighborhood unless you're from a small rural town in the southern United States or something. You never leave that place. But it could happen. You know, we could have a neighbor that's actually the neighbor from hell, and or just a nosy neighbor.
Yeah, because, well, since you're talking about the South, when we did Cali Current Atlanta, when we were in Atlanta, and we were driving over there, I mean, this is like the first year I've ever been to the South, or yeah, the South. And the houses over there, well, at least in the countryside and also Detroit, they're all kind of far away from each other. Like the neighbors, I mean, I'm pretty sure if they come out and see each other, they'll be like, hey, neighbor, they see each other. But compared to over here in Southern California, like the neighbors are just like, I just walk into my front door. If I look to my left, I can see what's up to the neighbors literally coming out of their front door. If I look to my right or I kind of peer out, take like maybe 3 steps forward, same thing. I can see my other neighbor and across the street neighbor, I can see two. So I can see like a total of four different neighbors like within close proximity here in Southern California. But yeah, in the South, I think you can only see like maybe one.
Well, it depends. I mean, if you're from a small rural town and or whatever, that you're in the Midwest where there's a bunch of farmland, and the closest place to you, if you live in the burbs or whatever, or if you don't, and if you don't live in the big city, you know, right here, yeah, we live in a city because your neighbors can see you if you don't have any drapes or any type of blinds or anything. But in places like that in the southern U.S. or in the Midwest or in just any rural, POS town, S-hole or whatever you may call it, there's not much, around. So it's like everything's all separated, everything's all spread out, and you don't get. I mean, you get all the privacy here, not so much. Here, it's like, I mean, the houses are so close together that people can see what you're doing if you don't have blinds or anything to cover your windows, which they probably can see in here because there's a few of windows that aren't even covered here. But it leads to the point where that's why if you have a nosy neighbor, because people sometimes, there's always that one person. I don't know if it's a female or male, but usually it might end up being a female where they're always peeking out their window, just looking to see. And the reason I know this is because actually my old neighbor, may she rest in peace, she passed away. She had a brain tumor, and she eventually died 10 years after she had her second brain surgery. And she was always out there peeking out the window, looking to see what we were doing as kids. And not because she wanted to be nosy, it's because she was worried a lot. She always worried about her kids, and she always made sure that the neighborhood was safe. That's the great thing about a nosy neighbor. But yeah, there are cons to it, like them, being harassing to you, or they're always asking you questions. It's like in the movie Extract, just to give an example, where that neighbor is always on top of them, whatever, Jason Bateman, and I forgot the female's name, the love interest. But yeah, that can happen. It's like, sometimes it just depends where you live. Who knows?
Well, according to Secure Data Recovery, they found that 81% of Americans have or had a nosy neighbor, with nearly half, 40%, adjusting routines to avoid them or even move. I mean, I don't think I really had a nosy neighbor. I've had some neighbors that I get along with pretty good. You know, sometimes they'll ask me questions that are a little bit personal, but I mean, we have a good relationship, I'll say. So I wouldn't consider them nosy. I mean,
I'm not trying to be a nosy neighbor myself, but I was walking by today your neighborhood, and I saw that the neighbor actually has. Well, I sort of asked you this question, but it's okay. You don't have to answer. He has two transmissions strewn all over the front yard, and that's the word of the day right there, strewn, Strewn. That means that they're, you know what? And try to remember. It's basically spread out unneatly. They're just throwing like whatever out in the yard. And he has
yeah,
two.
true, and actually untidily
That's
scattered.
what
So
I
I
meant.
meant like
Undoubtedly, yeah.
strewn, flower petals. That
Um,
that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm gonna note that
yeah,
one strewn.
and it's
It's like
like I'm
I'm
like,
like,
well,
well,
who
who
does
does
that? I
that?
mean, okay, I
I
guess
guess
he's
he's
a
a mechanic.
mechanic.
So the transmission was strewn. Oh yeah, yeah, kind of strewn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
just
just
has
has
them
them
like
like
wherever
wherever
randomly. I'm
randomly. I'm
like,
like,
okay,
okay,
well,
well,
he
he
has
has
dogs
dogs
too,
too,
but
but
you could also have that neighbor that is like not a pet. I mean, sorry, pest. I would a nightmare neighbor because today I picked up a guy, and he basically told me that his 70-plus-year-old female neighbor was accusing him of every little thing that the dogs, because he fostered dogs, the guy that I picked up, and that every time they barked, or she wanted to accuse him of noise ordinance or whatever, and the cops always came out. But eventually, she got so involved and she got so immersed into the fact that she just wanted to be a total bitc. You know what it ends with, to this poor guy that literally just moved in, even though she was always a see you next Tuesday from the get go. It's like, why do people do that? Why don't they just mind their own business?
but how many dogs did he have?
He said, well, in every city, I think you're allowed to foster 4 dogs or to have 4 dogs in general.
4 dogs.
Well, he was fostering 3 of them, and one of them is his own dog. And he brought the dog, beautiful Bichon, into my car, and I wasn't concerned because he was well behaved. And but he just told me the story that his 70-plus-year-old neighbor, she didn't want to have a life. She just wanted to be all about getting him in trouble or whatever. And it's like, why do people do that? It's like, I mean, that's just the question I ask myself. But it's like, man, mind your own business. Are people that bored nowadays that they have to make somebody else's life miserable because they're miserable themselves? Curmudgeons.
It could be that you're saying she's just being difficult. She's being what nowadays we call a Karen, just like, looking too much into it. But at the same time, like, I could kind of understand, like, having that many dogs. Like, okay, what if they bark a lot? What if they poop? They do it like dogs poop and pee. What if he's not keeping all the maintenance on them? And then say they all poop in a designated area in the backyard. And like most people and cell phones nowadays are too busy because, we're trying to do too much because we now have a lot of capabilities with technology. And if he doesn't pick up all the fecal matter of the dogs, that would suck, And then, like, one time, when I was going to work, the house had like a bunch of cats. They probably had like 8 cats. And I was like, damn. And I mean, like, cats and dogs are a little bit different. Dogs, most of the time, people have them, within the house area. Dogs don't just roam the street like it's Mexico. But cats, on the other hand, people let their cats just roam around, and sometimes you put a cat litter, other times cats, they just go wherever they want. So these cats would just go use the restroom all over the neighbors' front yards, all over the sidewalks on the street, not the street, but like the sidewalks, the little grass area between the street and the sidewalk. And it's just like, dude, like at that point, I mean, I don't want to be calling, the authorities on them. But at the same time, it's like, okay, if they're not managing them well, then maybe at that point I would understand the neighbor, the caring neighbor saying like, hey, I don't like the smell. I don't like the dogs barking every time.
Yeah, but it doesn't justify wanting to create a living nightmare for this guy, because I guess he said that he was new, and when he first moved in, he was waving at the neighbors. Her, she never waved back. So basically, she was always going to be evil regardless, because she never wanted to be friendly to begin with. So, I mean, you can't. I mean, I know you're trying to justify for why she probably had her justifications, but at the same time, we don't know the circumstances. He didn't really get into them, but he sort of told me that he had to basically file a civil lawsuit and or for harassment, because he said that he has bigger fish to fry, and I believe him. And I don't know what kind of business he did or whatever, but he said he worked 12, 14 hours from home, and he was on whatever. He worked from home. He worked remotely. Well, I don't even know what he did for work, but I mean, I do empathize with him because I'm a dog lover, and I mean, I don't think he did all those things that you were probably trying to speculate, but I mean, we don't know the circumstances. Point being is that people do get. I mean, everybody can see on YouTube that there's videos of nightmare neighbors where they're just basically going at each other, and the cops. It takes years and years for the cops to do anything, or unless he files a civil lawsuit, he or she or whatever, then things finally move along. But you know, he said that he had to get a restraining order against her, or just he said an order, but we all know what that means.
There was a time where I was a nosy kind of neighbor. It was like in my early to mid 20s. I went to my mom's work. She worked at like at this bank, like the kind of the corporate headquarters or whatever. It just so happened to be on the other side of their building, of her building where she worked at, was the John Force Racing um auto shop or whatever, mechanic, wherever they have their race cars. So I mean, I was pretty nosy looking and stuff, seeing all their race cars, would pull them in and stuff. But I mean, I wouldn't go over there and ask them questions, nothing like that. But just like peeping tom at the race cars, though. I mean, if that's a peeping tom, but it's at the cars.
And I'm only saying this because right now, since I walk two dogs, my nephews and my mom's, Sophie and Roxy, they, I mean, we sometimes, it just depends what they feel like, because I'll basically let them do whatever they want. I mean, I always clean up after them no matter what, but if we go around the neighborhood, I feel like one day, sometimes I see these signs where people say, oh, whatever, be respectful, clean up after your dog, which I always do, but I understand that there's people that don't. But I feel like one day I'm going to be told something by somebody, or I feel like somebody's watching me through the window, because actually there was this one time where I was walking them both, and I mean, it was just around the neighborhood, and I saw this guy on the second story, and he was waving to me like this, but I don't know if he was trying to say, like, don't let them come on my grass, because, you don't know people, sometimes they have, whatever, they're always out there just making sure nothing happens on their property. But I'm like, well, you don't even take care of your grass, so what does it matter if they poop on there? And if they do, I'm not going to just leave it there. But it's like clearly he was already waiting for me to get on the lawn or something. But I never got on the lawn. I got on the patch after the sidewalk of grass. See, I don't know if I gotta see what that is, if it's belongs to the city, because usually the utilities are there and that belongs to the city. They don't own. I don't even know what the law is on that, actually. If that patch belongs to the city or if it belongs to the homeowner. Well, it doesn't really matter, because eventually, if you don't pay your mortgage, the bank can take your, or if you don't pay your property taxes, the government's gonna take over your home. Whatever, they're gonna foreclose on it. But point being is that hopefully you guys don't live with nosy neighbors or with nightmare neighbors that just want to make your life a living hell every single day. Because there are people like that just dedicate themselves to being a pain in the butt.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, it's always good. I just read recently some articles where they were trying to figure out this really long research thing where they were showing, what contributes to people living long, healthy lives. And above the number one thing was actually relationships. So, having a good relationship with your neighbor is actually a really good idea if they're nosy. I mean, I would say maybe not try your best, because I mean, sometimes, like, sometimes you can't. People are just difficult, and, for whatever reason, it's not going to go down. But I mean, maybe just try not to avoid them, or, just give it a little effort, see what they're about. Um, but yeah, at the same time, sometimes people could be just difficult. But yeah, if you could make, good relationship with your neighbor, then hey, that'll contribute to, in the long run, more relationships, more positive relationships, and it'll only benefit your life. But like according to Lending Trees reports 73% of Americans hate at least one neighbor. And the top pet peeves is noise, being 50%, boundary issues, 38%. I'm not sure what boundary issues would be.
Meaning that if like there's a tree that's on the property line on either yours or their side, and well, like this is happening at my parents' house. They have a pomegranate tree literally right on the fence, but now that tree's been grown for like 10 years already, and it's been giving pomegranates. But like basically half of the, well, like a third of the tree is hanging on my parents' side, and they always get free pomegranates every summer. They're gonna give free pomegranates, and it's like they can't say or do anything about it. That's the kind of dispute for a property dispute.
But interestingly, 86% of people still say they like most of their neighbors. So we're all annoyed at someone, but we still usually wave.
I think. Well, it's not that it's a facade. I think it's because you don't want to create any angst and or any type of confrontations, and you just try to be as cordial as possible. But I equate it as fakeness actually because yeah, if I don't, I mean, I do it with the neighbor too that lives across the street, and sometimes with the other neighbor too. I'll say, hey, what's up? How's it going? And he sometimes he'll just ignore me, and I'm like, okay, well, that I shouldn't have done that, but that's just me though. But it just depends, because everybody can be fake if they wanted to.
Well, at least you gave it your try to say what's up, and at least he was keeping it real. He didn't say, hey, what's up, back? Or maybe he just didn't hear you. Sometimes, people don't hear you. People get loud. People are busy. People are in a rush. Like one time, I was walking the dogs, and then, okay, this lady or this place, I walk the dogs, and when they go poop, I keep my little bags to clean up their poop because I don't want to like live in the city or the neighborhood with dog poop. So we pick up the dog poop, and whenever it's trash pickup day, I kind of like it because everybody has their cans out, easy to get rid of the poop. I don't have to carry it too long. But when it's not trash pickup day, when I go around a certain block, there's this house, and they leave their trash cans, all three of them, the recycle, the yard waste, and the trash, like like 2 steps next to the sidewalk. So from the sidewalk, I can easily take 1 step on the driveway, lift up their trash can, and throw in the dog poop in there. It is in a bag, a plastic bag, and I close it up and I throw it in there.
But we did discuss this already. That's public domain. If it's in public, if the majority of the trash can is in public,
It's in their driveway.
well, yeah, but
But it's reachable from my
correct.
hood.
But that's what I'm
Reach it in my
saying.
hand.
Well, you're not stepping on their property, so it's still fine.
I do step on their property, but I don't. If I really wanted to, I could just reach out and not step on their property.
Correct. So,
So you're saying that's public domain.
well, the trash cans are public domain because they belong to the city. They don't belong to them personally.
But it's on their driveway.
Correct. But as long as you don't step on the driveway, that's all that matters.
Okay, so now
That's where the problem comes in, where you're on somebody else's property.
okay, usually I take that 1 step just to make it easier because I have the two dogs and their leashes. But one time, just one time, I think the lady caught me. She's like after I was done throwing it, I closed the lid on the trash can and it made a noise, boom. And then like I started walking away, like 1 or 2 steps, and then she starts yelling at me in Spanish, like, "Hey, something like don't be putting the trash. Basura, no, ponelo basura." And I was like, the dogs wanted to run, and usually when they run, I'm trying to be good with my time, get a short walk. So they start running. I start running. So
But that's
that's
just
yelling at me, but I couldn't really
but
hear.
that's laziness on their part regardless because
Yeah.
if they really want to put their trash cans away, they should put them away, not just leave them in the driveway or whatever.
Or you know what? I mean, not to be a Karen. Another thing I could have done is I could have just been waiting there and been like, "Hey, not to be throwing the health code or health and safety code, whatever, at you, but your trash cans actually should not be within public view." I think by the time I got a warning for that, like, "Hey, you can't have your trash cans in public view," or something like that.
That's true. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Well, make these type of people understand that, but everybody does it.
I think I'm gonna have to research it and be like, find out health and safety code, and then when I do it again, I'm be like, "Hey, health and safety code, you got it within sight. So if you don't want to let me throw the dog's poop in your trash can, then
You just next time say, "I didn't step on your property." So what?
and at least should be like carrot, because really a small bag of dog poop, and I put it in the green one. That's the compost. That's good for
Yeah,
everybody.
I would do the same, and I do that a lot actually. If I see a can out in public, I'm gonna put the dog's poop in that can, and nobody can say anything. It's called public domain. We've already discussed this on a different podcast. But moving on from laziness to from not from laziness. Let me say it again. From nosiness to laziness. Have you guys ever gone to the supermarket, whatever you got, a small or big cart or whatever, how much things you purchased, how many things, and or groceries, and you finish, you're paid, you're leaving the store, and then of course you take the cart to the trunk or wherever you put it in your car, and then you leave the cart there, and it's like that's it, my responsibility is done. Well, in reality, no, it's not. It's not over because you have to. It's a, I guess, a civic responsibility to return that cart back to the corral, and or because it's not really safe for you to just leave it wherever the heck. At least secure it somewhere, or at least put it back. I try to all the time. I would assume 95% of the time I do it all the time.
No, 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 no. Now you try to, you gotta put that cart back. You use a shopping cart they provide you to go shopping. You put the cart back where the cart return place. I mean, a
The
lot of people
corral.
say the corral. A lot of people say, "Oh yeah, they paid people to do that." Like at Costco, I've seen they got people running around picking up the carts. But I
But
mean,
they do that because they're getting them from the corral and they're taking them inside the store. But they're not. I mean, they're gonna pick up every single cart. But myself, I do it because I mean, I put them the majority. That's why I said 95% of the time I put it back, because 5% of the time, if there's inclement weather or if I'm in a hurry or if I'm running late for something, which is hardly ever, rarely, I don't do it, and I'll just make sure that it's secure somewhere so it doesn't run away and it hits another car.
no, 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 no. Don't be no lazy bones. I mean, you got a lot of time. It doesn't matter if the weather is inclement. It doesn't matter if you're running out of time. Don't be a lazy bones. I do it. I put it back 100% of the time. Before, maybe I was like, 95% of the time. But then that 95% turned to 100% after I started seeing the YouTuber is Carnarks. If you guys check him out on YouTube,
So
so
Cart
Cart
Narcs.
Narcs,
We
we
don't
don't
know
know
the
the
website.
website. Yeah, just YouTube
We
it. We
might
might
put
put
it
it
up.
up. We might put it up on the link, but just YouTube it, Cart Narcs. It's this shopping cart theory. This guy, he like calls out people. He just like in the shopping carts. He's like, he goes across the nation, different shopping centers, I guess. And he basically, what his theory argues that returning your cart is a litmus test for self-governance and civic duty. Which I mean, it is kind of like kind of like a helping, like how are we as a society? I mean, it is something small as returning your car, and I'll just throw it over there. But a lot of times when he calls out people, they'll be like, "Oh, don't they pay people to do this? They pay people to do this." And then his counter argument to that is when you go to the restroom, do you pee all over the place? Do you just throw your excrements all over the place? Someone's gonna clean it up. No, you try to clean it up the best you can. I mean, there's those degenerate people that make a mess in the restroom.
Yeah,
That's childish, though.
yeah, that happened about 2 weeks ago when I went into a Walmart to
That
take a dookie. Whoever it was, they just did it on purpose to just poop all over the stall. And I'm like, I'm glad I'm not cleaning that up. And I felt bad for the guy because actually I went to the next stall, which was there was only two stalls in the entire restroom, and I did my business. And it's like he was cleaning it while I was trying to do number two. Speaking of number two, number one, number two, I have a special term for number three, which is both the number one and number two. And I don't call it number three because that entails that you're doing both simultaneously. I call that pupe, P pupe, because it entails that you're doing both simultaneously. That's just my term for it. It's not the word of the day. It's not the term of the day. It's the term that I best recognize as the best term to use because nobody's gonna understand number three, and pupe basically entails
okay. So
everything right there.
basically, you cleaned up the restroom after yourself. Or it was
I
funny.
I
You
oh,
know,
I never
never
leave
leave
a
a mess.
mess. I never leave a mess unless I shard myself, and that's rare. I've only sharded myself twice in the last 20 years, maybe.
I mean, yeah,
I
I
try
try
not
not
to
to
shard
short
myself,
myself,
but I
but I
did.
did
I sharded
short
myself
myself
back
back
to
to
back
back
month, 2 months
months
ago,
ago
and
and
last
this
month.
month. I've been to some, bars, restaurants, stores where, yeah, people they leave a mess in there. To me, that's childish. I mean, that's like talk smack on all the people that are, putting graffiti all over the restrooms. Like, really? You gotta like claim and bang on a restroom or claim? Like, I go claim a restroom. Like, I don't know, maybe go claim like a bank. That would be kind of interesting. But yeah, that to me, it's just like, come on, put your things away. Have
Yeah, just be
be
responsible.
responsible.
Yeah, it's your civic duty and your civic responsibility to put the things that you use away. It's like when they teach you as a kid, if you're gonna play with your toys, don't just leave them laying around. You make sure you put them exactly back the way you found them. Especially in a school, you're growing up. We're growing up to be organized, to be self sufficient, to actually do things on our own, and a lot of people don't.
And then also the people's argument that say, because if you see the Carton Arts YouTube, these he called them out, and the people have like they have dialogue. They talk back and forth to each other, like, hey, like put your carts away. They're like, well, they pay people for this. At the same time, yeah, the store does pay people like, oh, I'm in a rush. I'm not going to go return it back to where the car's supposed to go. Yeah, they do pay people. So guess what? Now they got to hire another position. So now the company, long story short, prices are a little bit higher because they have to now have a position specifically just to have someone go get the cards and put them away and put them back.
Technically,
Technically, they
they,
have the day.
yeah, they do pay people for that, but they pay them to get the carts from the corral. Yeah, and if they're strewn all over the parking lot or the whole property,
Then they need more work for the person, which indirectly is going to make everything else go up in price. Well, because companies are not going to absorb that cost. They're like everything, they want profits. So they're going to pass on those costs onto the customers like us.
yeah, that's true because now they have new technology where technically, if you take the cart to the deepest edge of the entire parking lot or parking area, and after that, since it has a sensor on the wheels, it won't turn anymore. And technically, like just to give an example, I guess passersby or anybody that wants to take a car, like whatever transients or whatever, because that's how they push their things around. And that's another topic that we have to speak about one day because transients, I see people that are living on the streets, they have a dog, people that are on the streets that have, bikes, people on the streets. And I'm not criticizing them, I'm just saying, pointing out the obvious that they whatever, they have all these habits and I can't even afford that habit. And I'm a working person, but that's just the way I see it. But point being is that that's what it is. They steal the carts.
Or also people without a vehicle, they take the car
Yeah.
they walk all the way to their residence or get
Yeah, like
with the car.
Hispanic people do it a lot. Well, they used to do it. Now that they implemented that technology where you can't take the cart out of the parking lot.
And I'm pretty sure it's all people, not just Latino.
No, I'm just giving an example because my mom's done it. In Santa Ana, I've seen it so many times, and I'm not judging people for what they do. I'm just saying that a lot of people do it, but in the Hispanic community, that used to happen a lot in the 80s and 90s when I grew up because that technology didn't exist back then.
Communities that where they don't have a vehicle, yes, that they do that. And they do that technology, like you're saying, where they lock the wheels whenever they pass a certain boundary in the stores. Because, and all again, it comes into reducing costs. Because imagine for them to put trackers on every shopping cart, that involves money. Okay, so first you gotta build a shopping cart for the customer. After you build a shopping cart, due to issues like that, like of people taking it to their home because it's more convenient, and if you don't have a vehicle to load your groceries or whatever you're buying, then now they're putting more money into the car, putting to make the wheels with the brake activation. Yeah. So that's a lot of investment, all because people don't return their cars to the car receptacle.
And in the 80s, 90s, and early thousands, I literally saw like people that had a small or a big truck that had a corral or whatever to keep the carts inside enclosed, and they were hired to go to these neighborhoods around the area,
Yeah,
be like within a mile radius or whatever, and then they return those carts.
I remember seeing them. They would have like trucks just with all these carts loaded from picking them up in the neighborhoods.
Point being is that always return your carts no matter what. I'm gonna stop doing that. I know I said 95%, but I have to go to 100% because I used to collect cards. You know what? That's how I got injured, actually. I don't know if everybody remembers. I mean, I don't know if you followed us in the first 4 or 5 episodes. I've talked about how I injured myself working for a store company sorry, whatever, a very well known store chain here in Southern California. And I was wearing boots and I was 16, 17 years old and I was running around running to get the carts because I was trying to prove that I was the best box boy.
Oh, this was
Um,
during war?
yeah. And
And
I stepped on one of those little balls while I was looking for carts in the parking lot, and that's how I got injured. But I'm not trying to get off topic. I'm just trying to say is that it's a lot of work. And trust me, I've done that work. I mean, yeah, if you go to your favorite store, you better return that cart because yeah, it's convenient for you to pick it up at the entrance of the store or wherever you picked it up from, but it's also convenient for you to put it back because that's your responsibility. You're responsible since they loaned you that cart. I mean, you can watch a whole history of how carts became early in the early 20s probably in the early 1900s, I think, came about. But point being is that don't be inconsiderate. Just make sure you always do the right thing.
yeah, and check
Pay
it
it forward
forward
no
no
matter
matter
what.
what. Yeah, that YouTuber that I'm kind of like over here endorsing, I like to watch his videos, man. They literally make me laugh out loud. Like this dude, he's hilarious, and he's doing a good job, like or good duty for like a civic duty. It's also a reflection on us. I mean, it's something small as like returning your parts to the receptacle, but it's the little things like that, those little details that kind of define our society. Like one of these statistics was saying, I mean, I'll get you guys right now.
Okay, well, it basically boils down to the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated. And since that store paid that one employee to get those all those carts corralled in the corral or in the front of the store where they belong in the storage area, it's only proper for you to just put it back in the corral where it'll be easier for them to collect because yeah, you're right. We are right. I mean, everybody's right that says, oh, well, they get somebody gets paid for that. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you could be total, POS and just leave the car wherever you feel like.
Yeah, so online car abandonment averages around 70%. Most U.S. stores, United States stores, don't require deposits like in the European Union or up in Europe. Those chains, they do give you an incentive. Like if you return the parts, then they'll give you like 50 cents back. So up in Europe, they do give you a little incentive. Like return your car, bring like whatever the machine gives you some money back. But over here in the USA, they don't really mess with that.
We
So
live in a capitalistic society. We always say it over and over again. We're not going to get paid to do something that we're supposed to do regardless. But it's your responsibility no matter what.
yeah, but that also shows. So that same, because that, like I said, that dude has been entertaining me and the car nerds. So on one of his episodes, he's in Japan, and in Japan, he goes to this Japan in Costco. He's looking for cars in the parking lot. All the cars are returned where they belong. He couldn't find any. Like over here in the United States, I'm pretty sure he just posted around looking and he finds them. But in Japan, like, and I've been hearing that too, like in Japan and one of the World Cups, I think it was World Cup 2020 or 2020, whatever the recent one was. Like the Japanese, they showed the Japanese people like they all picked up after themselves. I don't know if whatever where the seating section they were in, the
Well,
bathroom.
they're a very advanced society where they can come up with certain things. You know what they should actually come up with, and I just thought of this right now because I've really never thought of everything that I think about. Sometimes comes on the fly. They should come up since we have autonomous vehicles. They should put. I mean, we have the technology for it. We should make all the cars autonomous and they should be returned on their own, and they whatever, it's like the robot vacuum, right? When it's vacuuming, you have one, right? And when it's done vacuuming, it's going to go back into insert itself in the charging station. We should do the same thing with carts. We should invent that. I mean, I don't have the brain for it, but that's an idea for all you, inventors that want to come up with a new idea.
That is really possible. It does involve a lot of investment. I mean, fancy stores, high-end stores could probably implement that ASAP just off of your idea. But long story short, one thing, like whenever I go to the movie theaters or whenever I go to a baseball game, I like to pick up off myself. Similar to the Japanese people that did that in the World Cup. But my thing was, because I remember when I was younger, my step grandpa Abel, we were able, yeah, he worked at the Angel Stadium, cleaning it up too. Damn, I used to do that too back in the day. And so now whenever I go to the Angel Stadium or you know, when I go with my little cousin, if I take him whatever, like, hey, fool, pick up your trash, man. Like, because in the back of my head, I'm thinking like, hey, you know, help out these people that be cleaning up the Angel Stadium. I mean, sure, at one time I was cleaning up the Angel Stadium.
Just make it a little easier for them. Be more considerate because yeah, they're getting paid to do that, but nobody's paying you to be a slob. You're just a slob all over on your own, all on your own. You know, it's like don't be inconsiderate. Don't be a punk.
Yeah,
Don't be
don't
a
be a punk.
don't
Don't
be
be
a
a punk.
punk.
And you know what?
A
A
punk
punk
AB.
AB.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody
that's
knows what
what
that
that
stands
stands
for.
for. Like, hook up the
That's
next
a
to
new
you.
that. Don't
Don't
be
be
a
a pad.
pab. Don't
Don't
be a
be a
pab.
pad.
That's
That's
a
the
new
new
term
term
that
that
we
we
can
can
come
come
up
up
with.
with. Or I hear some other people something like, don't be a spaz. I don't know if you know.
That's
That's
an
an
old
old
school
school
term.
term.
That's
That's
from
from
the
the
early
early
'80s.
80s.
Don't
Don't
be a
be a
spazoid.
spazoid. Yeah,
Don't
don't
be a
be a
wuss.
wuss.
A
A
wimp
wimp
and
and
a
a
what?
what?
And
And
a
a
P.
P,
It ends
ends
with
with
Y.
Y. Like in the
Don't be a
hood,
wuss.
like in the hood, I'll be walking the dog. Sometimes people just dump trash on the floor. Like they'll be like Oreo cookie wrappers, freaking ice cream wrappers, Jack in the Box. And then when I'm like in the nice neighborhoods, like the Yerba Linda,
But you know what boils my blood? We should talk about that one day. You know what really boils my blood?
and now boy, Yerba
Now that you actually got on that topic, is that people when they're eating they get their fast food orders or whatever, and they just throw it out of the car and it lands wherever it lands, and that really takes me off. Actually, that's something we have to talk about one day.
Well, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in for today's Cali Current Podcast.
Thank you very much for being here at the Cali Current Podcast. We love you guys. Thank you for liking, share, subscribe. Make sure you tell your family about our episode, your friends, and everybody that you know, so they can be tuned in and be entertained every single week.
Yeah, from nosiness to laziness, make sure you're on the right end of history, or at least the history of your life.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't get caught being on cart narcs, okay? Because that can happen. I'm afraid now that I'm going to get caught one day, but I'm not going to do that anymore because I don't want to get caught. Take care, everybody. We love you. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Peace out, everybody.